Nancy, tell us your story.
Hi, I'm Nancy. Several years ago, when Jama moved to Texas, I began to join them in prayer at the Thursday prayer meeting. It's been real special for me to be a part of that. And I shared with them something recently that they asked me to share with you. And so I want to take just a few minutes of your time and just ask if you'll listen with ears that hears what the Spirit says to you, not what He said to me in this time. About a year ago, a friend and I decided that we were going to go to the school board meeting. We'd been seeing so many things on television about different schools that were doing things that parents were upset about, all of the different stuff that they were hearing was going on in their schools. And we decided we wanted to go see what was going on in our schools. So myself and a friend went to the school board meetings. Well, that school board meeting, they started it with a prayer asking God to give them wisdom and to help them in their decisions that they made. And I realized, oh, okay, we're doing okay. But I still felt like we needed to go. There was no one else from the outside that came but us two ladies. And so felt like we should continue to go just to be a presence there. First time we walked in, they said, would you like to say something? And we said, no, we're here, just here. We don't have any complaints. We're just here to watch. And I think they were maybe surprised of why we were there. But anyway, that year's time, I think during that time we began to get acquainted with the superintendent. He would come and tell us different things he was doing, and we told him that we were part of a prayer group that prayed for the nation, and so he was pleased with that. Then, just a few months ago, we heard about the shooting in Uvalde. It was like 19 students were killed and 2 teachers were killed. And I began to pray for our school system and say, God, could that happen here? Could that happen here in our town? And I didn't know if it could happen or not. I thought, I don't know what kind of safety things are in place. I don't know what they're doing. And so I was praying about what they were doing, and I realized that it's not just about all the safety things that need to be in place. It's about the spiritual protection that needed to be in place. And so I thought, well, I'll just go set up a meeting with the superintendent. I called, I said, I'm one of the ladies that goes to the school board meetings. Can I set up a meeting with you? And I immediately had a meeting set up. And so as I showed up in the superintendent's office and began to ask him what kind of things about the Uvalde shooting, and I was asking the Lord, could it happen here? And I want to know what we have in place. And he began to give me the list. And it was a very complete list. So there were a lot of things they were doing. And several years they hired a police chief from a town close by that was retiring. So they hired him as our school safety person. And he began to put a lot of things in place that added to the protection that was at our schools. And I thought we could be a poster school for how to protect your children from. But it wasn't so much all the safety things in the natural that I was concerned about. It was, what are we doing in the spirit? We hear so many times, we've taken God out of the schools. Now the enemy has come in and he's trying to destroy our schools. Well, I believe that's partially true, but also believe that there's a lot of things we can do to put, and I just wanted to find out, what are we still doing? And so I began to ask him questions. Do we still pray at football games? Yes, and go down the list of things. Do we still pray at the first of the school day, like we did when I was a child, a long time ago? That he said, well, we have a moment of silence where people can pray. And just on and on of the different things that we could do. And I said, well, I have a prayer group at my house, and I was thinking, we've taken God out of the schools. What do we do to put him back in? And I thought about the 10 Commandments, how so many times they won't let you post those, or they won't. And so I asked the ladies in our prayer group, I said, help me to just write these so that they would, like a young person, a child could understand them. And so we did that. We just took these 10 Commandments, and one of them actually was not a commandment. The do unto others as you would have them do unto you. I just put down that you get back what you give. And then on to worship the Lord your God and have no other gods before you. Keep focused on truth, because Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. And then we just went on down all through the 10 and just put them in words. Do not steal. do not take anything that doesn't belong to you. And that way we went through the 10. Well, I handed him this list, and he began to look at it, and he said, I like these. I really like these. And then, much to my own surprise, I found myself asking, is there any way that I could be allowed to go into the schools and pray, just walk through the schools and pray? And he looked at me like for about 2 seconds and said, absolutely. And I was kind of surprised at myself that I asked that. And I said, well, how do I get in the schools? What do I have to do? Do I have to have some kind of a badge or something that will allow me in? And he said, you let me take care of that. And so anyway, 2 days later, I got a text from him, and I want to read it to you, because this, to me, was amazing. It was God just swinging wide a door that I hadn't even thought about asking to be opened for me. But he called me by name, and the superintendent said this. He said, I want to let you know that I met with our principals and administrative team earlier this week. I told them about our visit and your request to pray in and for our schools. All principals welcomed you and your prayers in their schools. We also talked about the spiritual protection around our schools and our district. They really liked your version of the 10 Commandments. I took what you gave me and I made a few adjustments, and we are going to call them our school values and teach them to our kids this year. I will send you a picture of the list. I also spoke to our team about all of us being gatekeepers. We have a great responsibility in front of us, but we are up to the task. Please keep us in your prayers. Thank you for visiting with me. You are always welcome at all of our campuses. I was amazed that they were just swinging wide the door for me to go in and pray for the schools. I recognized that this was a God thing. If I would have thought about it, I probably would have talked myself out of even asking, because I didn't think they'd let me do it. But the Holy Spirit just prompted me to ask, and the door was swung wide open. Think about your own life and the doors that are maybe closed to you. I want to read you just a couple of scriptures that came to me after this. It says in James 4:2b, says, you do not have, because you do not ask. And in Luke 11:9, so I say to you, ask, and it will be given to you. Sometimes we don't get to do things that we think are impossible just because we don't knock at the door or we don't ask God to do those things. So I found myself asking, and God said yes, and I'm so thankful he did.